Hello, welcome back. So, this question comes all the way from Saudi Arabia. And the question is just, can I get a basic overview of punctuation? So, of course, yes. If you need additional information on semicolons or commas, just let me know because there's obviously a lot more to it. And I can definitely provide more information, another video on that. So keep in mind, this is going to be just a basic overview of punctuation that will be very helpful in your everyday life, as well as preparing for TOEFL, IELTS, whatever you need it for. And it's really important that we understand the basics, especially when we're writing, preparing for something, because if we don't have the correct punctuation, it leaves the reader so confused. Have you ever read something and thought to yourself, what the heck is this person saying? It's not necessarily the grammar, but it's the punctuation. It is so important. It tells the person who is reading the information how to understand what is happening. And it makes it just so much easier. It shows when something stops, when there's a pause, just a nice, easy flow. So the first one is the basic one, really. I think everyone knows about when to put a period. It's at the end of a statement or a complete thought that we have. And what it does is it tells the reader, bam, the sentence is finished. So, for example, I go to school, period, we're done. She is my teacher, bam, we're done. We like to read, we're done. So the period goes at the end, letting the reader know we are done with what we're trying to say. Question mark. We're asking a question. And we put this at the end of the sentence. And it's a question, not a statement. For example, my name is Amanda. That is a statement. I put a period. But what is your name, or is your name Amanda? We would use a question mark because I'm asking a question. Do you like cookies? Where do you live? These are all questions that we don't know. That's why we're asking. So we put a question mark. Okay, exclamation mark. This is really important because this is often overused. We don't want to use too many, especially in our formal writing, because then it looks like we're shouting. And we don't want to shout, especially if we're taking an important exam, or better yet, if you're writing an email to a work colleague, your manager, somebody of importance. If you put exclamation marks everywhere, it looks like you have a problem and you're shouting. So you want to be careful with where you put them. Of course, put them in there if you're excited about something. I bought my first house! Exclamation point. Wow, that was amazing! Exclamation point. So those are things of excitement. And anytime we want to show something where we're surprised, excited, maybe we're mad, or something full of joy, happiness, we can definitely emphasize that by putting the exclamation point. When we add that exclamation point to something, for example, that we're happy about, it shows we are super, super happy. So if I write, I bought my first house, cool. But if I write, I bought my first house with that exclamation mark, holy cow, it shows I am so excited, just super, very excited. So we can also, if we're mad, if I say, I am mad, okay, so you're mad. But if I write, I am mad, exclamation point, I'm adding more emphasis that, hey, I'm really mad. So that is an overview of exclamation mark. Comma. Now, this is just a basic overview of commas. There's a lot more to it, but I'm going to give you the basic overview, and feel free to let me know if you want a video just on commas. Commas are so important because they will organize our sentence. It makes it easier for the person to read, and they show small pauses, and they help separate words or phrases. So when you read a sentence, if you feel like you need to pause, chances are you need to put a comma there. We use commas to separate items in a list. For example, I bought apples, oranges, and bananas. We need to separate that list. After apples, after oranges, we're separating our list. Introductory words like yes and even no, we will put a comma. Yes, comma, I understand. No, comma, I don't understand. After all is another introductory. After all, comma, I said blah, blah, blah. So again, after introductory words, we want to use them before and, but, or because. And the reason why, remember I did a whole video, and if you haven't seen it yet, no worries, but there's a video out there of when we connect, we join sentences. We join with and, but, because. There's some other words we use, but we want to use the comma. We're joining two sentences. I like coffee, comma, but I prefer tea. There's a pause there. I like coffee, but I prefer tea. So we've got two different sentences that can technically stand on their own. We are joining them together, connecting them, but we separate the comma. So we'll put our comma before our words like and, but, or because. Okay, next one. I'm kind of going fast with this. Semicolon. So these are used to connect two closely related sentences. They show ideas that are linked, but these sentences can stand alone. Look at the first one. I have a big test tomorrow, semicolon. I can't go out tonight. So these two sentences can actually be their own, but we connected them with a semicolon. She loves books. However, her house is full of them. A lot of times, if you see the word however, hence, HENCE, you'll typically see a semicolon before it. So again, each part must be a complete sentence on its own if you are going to use a semicolon. Okay. Again, period is at the end of a statement or some thought we're giving. We're letting the reader know, hey, bam, we are done. With a question mark, it's not a statement. We're asking a question because we don't know the answer. So we use that question mark. Exclamation point, woo, or exclamation mark. Some of you call it exclamation mark. It's also known as exclamation point. Either way, we all know what it is. But it's showing emotion. We're mad, we're angry, we're excited, we're surprised. So we are showing emotion. And again, we don't want to use that all throughout our formal writing because it could look like you have a problem. Comma, we're going to separate ideas. If we feel like we have to pause, most likely we're going to put in that comma. We use them before certain words like and, but, because. We separate things like apples, oranges, anything that looks like a list we'll separate. And then, of course, semicolon joins related sentences together, but these sentences can stand alone. If we didn't have a semicolon, they would still be grammatically correct. All right, I rushed through that. Hopefully that was helpful. And again, if you need more information on commas or semicolons, because I know there's a lot to it, just let me know. We can definitely do another video on that. But Fatima, thank you for the question. Hope this helped. Have a great day.